The year I turned 27, my family started pressuring me to get married. I went through a brutal, cold-turkey breakup with the boyfriend I'd spent 3 years simping over and headed back to my hometown to start blind dating. A friend asked me, "You liked Ryan so much. Can you really just let it go?" I scoffed. I'm not an idiot. A guy like him is fine for dating and having fun, but if I actually married him, I'd be miserable for the rest of my life. Suddenly, a dark, familiar voice came from beside us. "Oh. So that's your reason for dumping me?" When I had dragged my luggage home that day, I bumped right into a girl opening the door to leave. She was wearing a loose black sweater that showed off her collarbones, the no-pants look, and a pair of YSL stiletto heels. I recognized her as the bassist in Ryan's band. I think her name was Lucy, something like 20 years old, very pretty. I instinctively stopped behind the hallway door, staying out of sight. A moment later, Ryan walked out from behind her wearing only jeans, lazily leaning against the wall to light a cigarette. He was shirtless, water still dripping down his V-line abs. A second later, he casually tossed a Chanel handbag over to her. "Take it." Lucy's eyes lit up. She turned and threw herself onto Ryan, squealing. "Ah. I've wanted this bag for so long. Where did you get it?" "Picked it up when I was in Paris last time. I love it so much." "Thank you, baby." Lucy wanted to linger, but Ryan was already getting impatient. Frowning slightly. "All right, get going." The girl hopped down, half pouting, half flirting. "You're so heartless. You were calling me baby a second ago, and now you're kicking me out." She wasn't actually mad, though. She happily slung the bag over her shoulder and blew Ryan a kiss. "I'm going. See you tomorrow." After she left, I stepped out from behind the hallway door. Ryan clearly hadn't expected me to come back suddenly. He froze for a second, but his expression immediately returned to normal. "Why didn't you tell me you were coming back?" I looked at him for a moment. It was too late. I didn't want to call and wake you up. The ambiguous red marks on Ryan's neck were fresh, yet he showed zero guilt. He pulled me into the room with one arm. "I'm hungry. Make something to eat." He sat on the sofa and turned on the TV as if nothing had happened. Seeing that I hadn't moved, he furrowed his brows. "What's wrong?" Then, realization seemed to dawn on him. A lazy smile floated onto his face. "Missed me?" He got up, hugged me from behind, his hot breath hovering ambiguously against my neck, his hand slowly sliding under the hem of my shirt. "Then I'll eat you first, then dinner." He played guitar year-round, so his fingertips had rough calluses that scratched against my skin, stinging and ticklish. I closed my eyes and wearily pushed him away. I really liked Ryan's body. When I first chased him, it was mostly because of his looks. But maybe it was the long-haul flight, or maybe it was that woman just now. I just felt exhausted. I wasn't in the mood at all. Ryan was rarely rejected by me. He paused, his face darkening slightly. "What is it?" I looked down and saw a black crumpled mass on the carpet. It was a pair of torn stockings. Ryan obviously saw the stockings too. He clicked his tongue, his expression turning ugly. Silence and anxiety filled the living room. He pulled a cigarette from his pack and lit it, the crisp sound of the mint bead popping in the filter breaking the quiet. Her lease was up and she had nowhere to stay, so I let her crash for a night. Nothing happened between us. I looked at Ryan. The drifting white smoke separated our gazes, we couldn't see each other's expressions clearly. But we both knew how lame that excuse was. This wasn't the first time Ryan had cheated. He was a born player. He was like this the first time I met him. Back then, my best friend wanted to take me to see a somewhat famous rock band, claiming the lead singer was devastatingly handsome and tickets were hard to get. I had no interest in rock music and wasn't enthusiastic. Until Ryan took the stage. He looked down, strumming his guitar. His black hair wasn't styled, loose strands brushing against his pale forehead, occasionally revealing thin, pinkish eyelids. He was the most plainly dressed person there, just a simple black tee and jeans, yet he instantly became the focal point of the crowd. That face was the most expensive luxury item in the room. He lifted his eyes. The hazy lights reflected in his amber pupils, carrying a faint smile. That was my first time at a live show. My best friend and the girls below the stage were screaming their heads off, the noise almost blowing the roof off. His gaze swept over the rowdy crowd. Our eyes met for a split second, and then he looked away. The songs that night were great, but I didn't hear a thing. Because in that moment, the world went silent, and I only heard my own thundering heartbeat. After the show, countless girls rushed backstage to get his contact info. I was among them. Single for 23 years, that was probably the bravest thing I'd ever done. Ryan didn't refuse anyone. The girls who asked for his WeChat that day all got to scan his QR code, myself included. A year later, all the other admirers had admitted defeat. Only I persisted. I don't know if it was out of pity, emotion, or something else, but Ryan tacitly accepted our relationship. I became his girlfriend, right up until now. But I knew that in the years we were together, Ryan never truly liked me. Or maybe he did like me, he liked my sensibility, my generosity, and the fact that I never made a fuss. I caught him cheating many times, but every time he gave me a halfway decent excuse, I would forgive him. He had said many times that I wasn't his type and that he was only with me because I treated him well. He also joked that the day he found true love, he would dump me. The reason our relationship survived all these years was solely because I compromised and swallowed my pride. You promised me you wouldn't cheat again. My voice was low as I looked at the torn Balenciaga tights on the floor. A trace of mockery flashed in Ryan's eyes. He had no intention of comforting me. I was just talking, and you actually believed it? He smirked and leaned in close, blowing mint-scented smoke into my face, his expression purely malicious. Can't handle it? If you can't handle it, you can break up with me. He had said this to me countless times before. Every time, it ended with me hugging him and begging him not to leave. Over time, he learned exactly how to manipulate me. He knew that the moment he said those words, would be helpless. I turned my head away. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Ryan grabbed my wrist. He had a high brow bone, and when he was expressionless, he radiated an oppressive pressure. Laura, that's enough. I shook off his hand and went into the bedroom. Not long after, the sound of the front door slamming shook the walls. Ryan left. He was angry, I knew that. After all, between us, I was always the one coaxing him, simping for him. I had never given him attitude like this before. I rolled over and turned on my phone. In the family group chat, my mom had tagged me. Mom has never rushed you before, but you're 27 this year. It's about time you thought about marriage. A colleague's son has good prospects. I've seen him, he looks decent. Why don't you come back and meet him during this break? Then I opened my boss's message. Laura, the branch office is short-staffed right now. With your ability, staying as a deputy manager here is a waste of talent. Are you interested in going to the branch office as a manager? Starting up operations will be tough at first, but it's up to you. My mom wanted me home for blind dates. The company just opened a branch in my hometown. The timing, the location, the people, it seemed I really had no reason to stay here anymore. I sighed. Actually, I really did like Ryan. He was handsome enough, his body was great, and we were very compatible in bed. Most importantly, he was enough of a scumbag. Being with him was relaxing because I didn't have to think about being responsible for him, nor did I have to consider a future for the two of us. When I first started working, I was dizzy with exhaustion and really wanted someone to vent my stress with. I look average, but I'm obsessed with good looks. I looked around and couldn't find anyone who fit the bill until I met Ryan. He spent his best years with me, physically relieving a lot of my stress while I racked my brain for my career. And although his relationships with women were messy, he was careful in that regard. Before I got with him, I heard that any woman he was with had to show a clean health check from within 3 days. I always used protection, so I wasn't afraid of catching anything. It would probably be hard to find such a physically satisfying man in the future. But there was no helping it. Dating is one thing, getting married and settling down is another. I liked Ryan a lot. But I also clearly knew he wasn't marriage material. Now, it was time for me to make a choice. Ryan didn't come back all night. He didn't appear in front of me for the next few days. He wouldn't answer my texts or calls. When I messaged again, there was only a red exclamation mark. He had blocked me. Skilled silent treatment. This had happened a few times before. Ryan was an expert at the Cold War. Every time, I had to humble myself and coax him for a long time before he would give me a smile. Only this time, I was busy with the job handover and didn't have time to coax him. That evening, as I was buying my plane ticket home, my phone suddenly rang. It was one of Ryan's friends. The background noise was chaotic, men and women laughing, music so loud it was annoying even through the phone. Laura, Ryan's drunk. Come pick him up. Ryan loved clubbing. His family was rich, the band was just a hobby. He didn't rely on it for money. I once asked him why he didn't take over the family business. He sneered and said his dad's illegitimate kids were fighting like dogs over that money, and he didn't want to fight for scraps. Anyway, his grandfather's and mother's inheritance would go to him. He wasn't short of cash. He just wanted to do what he liked in this life. Ryan seemed to have zero career ambition. We had nothing in common in that regard. Every time I landed a project or got a promotion and told him, he acted completely uninterested. He once disdainfully said that working yourself to death for a monthly salary wasn't even enough to cover his bar tab for a night. I knew we were different people down to our bones. Apart from physical chemistry, we had no common ground. I didn't care about his soul, I just liked his body. He ignored my inner self, simply accustomed to my sensibility. It was fine. This way, when we parted, neither of us would be sad. I thought about it and said okay. Putting down the phone, I looked out the window. The city at night seemed more brilliant than during the day. The lights of thousands of homes and the flow of traffic wove together, obscuring the light of all the stars in the sky. I glanced at the plane ticket, 8 a.m. the day after tomorrow. I sighed. Actually, I didn't want to break up so soon. Ryan and I were really compatible in bed. Changing companies was stressful, and I had originally wanted to have breakup sex with him. I smacked my lips, feeling it was a pity. But since the opportunity had come, there was no helping it. When I arrived at the bar, Ryan was surrounded by a group of girls. All types, but the common trait was that they were all beautiful. Heavy makeup couldn't hide the abundant collagen in their faces, they were clearly young. No wonder girls liked him. Ryan was rich, generous, and handsome. On him, being a player seemed to become a charming virtue. I touched my own face, remembering Ryan's disparaging words from before. You're 27. Go get a facial or something. Can you fix yourself up a bit? No wonder he disliked me, he was surrounded by girls in their early 20s. I didn't say anything. Standing outside the crowd, my eyes met Ryan's. He acted as if he didn't see me, quickly looking away. Lucy's face was flushed with drink. She pressed herself tightly against him, her voice sticky sweet. Ryan, have another drink. Ryan smiled. Under the lights, the corners of his eyes tilted up. He looked beautiful, yet completely devoid of warmth. Drinking like this is boring. Why don't you feed me? Feed you how? Ryan didn't speak, just looked down at her. Half a second later, Lucy understood. A flash of surprise crossed her eyes. She tilted her head back and downed the caramel-colored whiskey in the glass. Then, Ryan suddenly hooked her chin and kissed her hard. His kiss had no tenderness, it seemed entirely about venting emotion. Lucy tilted her head back, enduring it, the corners of her eyes growing wet from lack of oxygen. Liquor spilled from the corners of their mouths, glistening under the lights. When they finally separated after a long time, a silver thread connected their lips. The atmosphere around them exploded, everyone was screaming and cheering. I knew he did it on purpose. He was punishing me. Punishing me for giving him attitude that day and not coaxing him immediately afterward. It wasn't until I walked right up to Ryan that everyone noticed me and gradually quieted down. Ryan looked up, his expression indifferent. What are you doing here? Looking at his face, I vaguely remembered the days of intimacy we shared. When passions were high, we had said we loved each other. Did it hurt? Maybe a little. But not that much. After all, I had known for a long time that Ryan was this kind of person. A player, endlessly seeking thrills, unable to refuse. Selfish, probably from being pampered since childhood, always self-centered, never considering others' feelings. My voice trembled. Ryan, you're crossing the line. Ryan looked up at me. Even though he was sitting and I was standing, I felt like he was looking down on me. He kept that faint expression, wearing a scornful smile. Crossing the line? You can break up with me. No one is stopping you. I didn't say a word, just looked at him. I lost count of how many times he had threatened me with a breakup. 50 times? 100? A friend nearby felt he was going too far. After all, they had seen how I treated him over the years. He whispered to him, Ryan, don't be mad at Laura. Look, she's about to cry. In fact, I really was crying. If you're going to act, go all the way. When that tear fell to the floor, I clearly saw Ryan's expression change. The finger holding his cigarette twitched. Yet, he still didn't speak, just stared at me coldly. The next second, I spoke softly, "Okay, Ryan. Let's break up then." Ryan's face instantly turned extremely ugly. For a moment, I almost thought he was going to explode. But instead of getting angry, he laughed, though it looked like he was gritting his teeth. "Impressive, Laura. Fine. Just remember, I never take back trash. Don't come begging me like a dog later." "Okay." I nodded, wiping the tear from the corner of my eye. Then I turned and left without looking back at him once. Ryan didn't come back that night. I deleted his contact info and everything related to him overnight, and packed my bags. Early the next morning, I got on the earliest flight back to my hometown. As the plane flew above the clouds, I pulled out my SIM card and threw it into the waste bag. I didn't contact Ryan again. After posting a few late-night emo captions on my social feed to build up a heartbroken persona, I cleanly put him out of my mind. Back in my hometown, life fell into a routine. I quickly adapted to the new company's business and met the men my parents arranged for me. The 28-year-old programmer across from me, who was already balding, was droning on, "I feel that after marriage, a woman should focus on the family. What I mean is, you shouldn't work after we get married. Don't be so career-focused. Take good care of the home. Behind every successful man, there should be a woman." He kept running his mouth. I smiled at the coffee cup in my hand, thinking I had to hold back the urge to dump it on this pig's head. Finally, he finished. He glanced at me sideways. "Did you hear clearly what I just said? Do you have anything to add?" I maintained my smile. "No. But Mr. Wang, I don't think we're very compatible. Let's not meet again." Then, amidst his rambling about women over 25 aren't worth anything, "What are you picking for, old woman?" I turned and left. I'd been back for a while, and my mom had introduced me to quite a few dates. Some actually had decent conditions. However, once you've seen the ocean, it's hard to settle for a pond. After being with a top-tier guy like Ryan, I really couldn't accept these average men. This mood persisted until a staff meeting. Everyone arrived early, sitting silently around the conference table, the atmosphere solemn. I whispered to the vice president next to me, "What's going on? Is the company in trouble?" The VP leaned into my ear, "The old chairman's son has been parachuted in. I heard he's using our branch to practice before taking over the entire group. I heard this Mr. Gavin is a Harvard grad. Worked at Goldman Sachs after graduation, then went into finance on his own and made over $1 billion overnight. If the chairman hadn't been threatening and bribing him for years, he wouldn't have come back. He's a ruthless character. Be careful when you talk to him." A moment later, a young man in a black suit walked in, a black wool coat draped over his shoulders. The moment he entered the office, someone respectfully took his coat behind him. The sound of leather shoes stopped. I looked up. Like everyone else, my gaze was instantly captured by him. The first thing that struck you was his aura. It was the aura of someone accustomed to high status and control. He didn't have an arrogant expression, yet everyone present, including me, felt an urge to lower their heads and avoid eye contact. Only on the second look did I clearly see his incredibly clear eyes. His black hair was gelled back, revealing a sharp brow bone. I had heard the chairman's wife was French. The elegance of blonde hair and blue eyes combined perfectly with Eastern aesthetics in him, typical Western bone structure with Eastern features. He was very handsome, on par with Ryan, but his aura was so intense that you didn't notice his looks at first glance. Apologies. The plane was delayed. I'm late. He admitted his mistake first, then sat at the head of the table, getting straight to the point. My name is Gavin Gaines. I am the new general manager. I've already reviewed the company's basic data and financial reports. Now, starting with the vice president, I want everyone to give a basic report on their work results from the past year and the tasks currently in hand. The department heads trembled as they reported. Mr. Gavin was indeed the elite described in rumors, pointing out every attempt to fudge the details. I don't like vague language, and I don't like being deceived. I hope to communicate well with everyone, but if my communication is ineffective, I will consider other methods. He didn't yell or hit anyone, yet a layer of cold sweat broke out on everyone's backs. Even my palms were damp when I stood up. Fortunately, I was well prepared, and my work over the past year had been excellent. I spoke with increasing confidence. My education and career were my pride and the most important things in my life. I never slacked off in these areas. Mr. Gavin didn't interrupt me. I saw a trace of appreciation in his eyes. A moment later, I stopped, indicating I was done. He nodded. Laura, right? Not bad. In the future, all work reports should follow this standard. Ever since Mr. Gavin arrived, everyone's workload increased. He cleared out a lot of redundant tasks and bad assets, and negotiated many high-quality projects. Everyone's overtime increased, but salaries went up along with it. The colleagues, especially the young women, were very interested in Mr. Gavin. Two new girls didn't know what got into them and actually tried the domineering CEO falls for the innocent flower trope from novels. One openly argued with him in a meeting. The other spilled coffee on his 000 shirt and tried to wipe it off with her hand. The first one was fired the next day. The second one was fired that same day. The female colleagues settled down, but during breaks, they still gathered in the break room to gossip about him. I heard he's never had a girlfriend. You think he's still a virgin? No way. You watch too many dramas. With his status, so many women are eyeing him. How could he be a virgin? Let me sleep with him for one night. I'd spend my whole year-end bonus. He's top tier. Did you see him in suit? Pants the other day? Oh my God, he's packed. I listened from the side, suddenly interested. Without Ryan, this Gavin seemed like an even better choice. This man, I wanted to try. I began to appear regularly in front of Gavin. He arrived at work 30 minutes early every day. 3 out of 5 days a week, I managed to catch the same elevator as him. Usually, it was just the two of us. I didn't talk much. Just a greeting, pressed the button for him, and stood quietly to the side. Then, like clockwork, I went to get coffee every day at noon. He usually came for coffee at that time too. I made sure not to bump into him in the break room, leaving before he finished pouring, but ensuring he saw me. Occasionally, I would work late, and he would pass my desk when he left. Basically, appear in front of him as much as possible, but never say an extra word. Finally, the 17th time he saw me working overtime, he paused and walked over to me. I see you working late often recently. Are you running into problems? I looked up in feigned surprise, hesitated for a moment, then handed him the documents in my hand. I just took over a new project, but I'm not sure about the risks with some of this company's assets, so I can only study it more. Gavin naturally sat at the desk next to mine. Let me see. He smelled faintly of woodsy cologne. It mixed with my light rose perfume, creating an indescribable, intoxicating scent. I think this project is viable. Look at their 2023 report, the financial situation is not bad, and he spoke with confidence. I nodded attentively at the side, occasionally asking highly professional questions, and showing an expression of sudden realization after he answered each one. So that's how it is. Thank you, Mr. Gavin. I never thought about it from that angle. Your professional ability is already good, you just have less work experience. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Go home early, he said, cracking a rare joke. Don't let people think I'm some evil slave driver forcing employees to work overtime every day. I nodded, packed up the documents, and went downstairs with him. When we got to the exit, wind-driven rain hit me. I hesitated and took a step back. Gavin was about to leave, but seeing I hadn't moved, he turned back and asked, "What's wrong?" I waved my hand. "It's nothing, Mr. Gavin. You go ahead. I just remembered I have something to do." He didn't ask more, nodded, and left. 5 minutes later, his car drove out of the underground garage. I was still standing at the company entrance. Gavin rolled down the window. "Did you not drive?" I looked embarrassed. "Yeah. It's raining, so it's hard to get a cab." "It's fine, Mr. Gavin. I'll wait a bit longer, one should show up." He spoke up, "Get in. I'll drive you." On the way, I talked a lot with Gavin. He was somewhat surprised to find our interests were very aligned. Even my favorite niche movie, The Holy Mountain, was his favorite too. Gavin went from a cool demeanor to becoming quite chatty, until he actually missed the turn at my house and kept driving. I pressed my lips together, about to remind him, but he had already realized it. "Sorry, I wasn't looking at the GPS." When the car stopped, I thanked him again for driving me home. Gavin just nodded. His lips parted slightly as if he wanted to say something, but he swallowed it back. "What is it, Mr. Gavin?" I looked at him. "What perfume are you wearing?" "It smells good." He seemed a bit regretful as soon as the words left his mouth, but saying anything else would only make it more awkward, so he just looked down and stopped talking. I was amused internally. Penhaligon's the coveted Duchess Rose. See you tomorrow, Mr. Gavin. I stood behind the curtain watching Gavin leave, then picked up a notebook from the side table. To catch this opportunity, I hadn't driven to work for a long time. Thankfully, the weather forecast was accurate today, and I really caught the rain. I opened the notebook. It was filled with notes on Gavin's likes and dislikes. Information on him was scarce. I had to dig deep to find the social media accounts he used in college, recording every word carefully to learn his preferences. Even that movie, The Holy Mountain, I had only watched last night. There was no other way. For an average girl like me to land a top-tier man like him, I really had to put in extra effort. I curled my lip and sat on the bed to rest, but my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered it to hear a familiar voice. Ryan's tone was lukewarm. You left a lot of stuff at the house. Come get it. Otherwise, I'll throw it all out. I did leave some things behind when I left, but it was all stuff I didn't need and thought took up too much space. I thought given Ryan's personality, he would just trash it. I didn't expect him to call and notify me. Then throw it all away. I don't want any of it. I spoke perfunctorily while flipping through the notebook on conquering Gavin. On the other end, Ryan was clearly unhappy. After a long silence, he hung up directly. He was always like this, moody, always needing someone to coax him. But now I had no obligation to coddle him anymore. I blocked the number and threw the matter to the back of my mind. I had already spent time with Gavin yesterday, so I couldn't use the same tactic today. I got off work early for a change and went to a bar with a friend for a few drinks. After 3 rounds, we were both a bit buzzed. My friend squinted at me. You liked Ryan so much before. Now that you suddenly broke up, are you really over it? When I was with Ryan, my friends always felt I was wasting my potential, thinking I was too much of a simp and had no backbone. But I didn't think it was a big deal. Since I was after Ryan's body, I had to pay a price. Besides, whether I simp or not is my decision. How does that count as having no backbone? I put down my glass. A guy like him is just for dating. I'm not stupid. Playing around while I'm young is fine. If I really married him, wouldn't I be miserable for the rest of my life? My friend gave me a thumbs up. Badass. You really are on another level. You're right, though. You played Ryan during his prime years. Turns out you were playing 4D chess. She suddenly stopped talking, looking behind me with a terrified expression. Am I drunk and hallucinating right now? A faint laugh came from behind me, carrying a chill that instantly sobered me up completely. Oh. So that's your reason for dumping me? I stiffly turned my head. Ryan, wearing a silky white shirt, was leaning against the wall, staring at me coldly. My friend very disloyally bolted. Ryan dragged me into an empty corridor, looking down at me. I seriously suspected he was going to kill me in the next second. Why are you here? I struck first. You didn't come specifically to find me, did you? Ryan smiled lazily. Laura, if there's no mirror in your house, surely you have urine to look at your reflection in? I came here to perform with the band. But if I hadn't bumped into you, I wouldn't have known that all these years, I was the one being played by you. I was just joking with my friend. You know you hurt me deeply, and I have my pride too. I turned my head away to avoid looking at Ryan, but he pinched my chin and forced me to turn back. He gritted his teeth on one side. Laura, did you treat me like an idiot this whole time? Yes, I answered in my heart. I forcefully freed my chin, which hurt from his grip, and maintained my calm. Ryan. No matter what, I gave you my all these past few years. Ask your own conscience, how did I treat you? I didn't do anything wrong by you. Instead, you were the one constantly wronging me. Even if I had played you, it wasn't for nothing. Does my youth not count as youth? Since we've reached this point, let's part on good terms. At least, I paused, unable to say the word love. At least we had a good run. Ryan looked at me for a long time. Just when I thought he was going to get angry again, he suddenly laughed. Under the lights, his features were as beautiful as ever, but my heart no longer fluttered. Looking at even the most beautiful person for over 1,000 days and nights gets boring. Laura, you really think too highly of yourself. Ryan smirked. Of course we'll part on good terms. Did you think I would still chase after you? Just remember, you didn't dump me. I, Ryan, dumped you. Saying that, he turned and walked away as if there were something dirty behind him. I watched his back and sighed silently. Ryan really had never been dumped in his life. Being dumped by me probably annoyed him. But if thinking that way made him feel better, I didn't care. I kept up my routine of working late, and Gavin stayed later day by day. Occasionally, he would give me a ride. The late autumn/early winter weather carried a dry chill. Amidst the traffic lights, pedestrians wrapped in coats seemed distant from each other due to the cold, yet involuntarily wanted to huddle closer. We would talk about company projects, talk about what we'd been doing recently. I would complain about people from partner companies, and occasionally he would agree with me, yeah, I think that guy is a total idiot too. Then we would laugh together. Over time, I could feel his fondness for me growing bit by bit. So, on the day of the first snow, I decided to administer a strong dose. I asked him for time off. When he asked for the reason, I hesitated and answered, something came up at home. Logically, he shouldn't have probed further, but Gavin frowned. Did something happen to your family? Is there anything I can help with? I smiled awkwardly. No, it's my mom forcing me to go on a blind date. Gavin froze. I rarely saw this expression on his face. I added, I'm 27, and my family has been pressuring me. I put them off before, but I can't get out of it this time. After a long time, Gavin looked down. All right. But you know the company is busy recently. I can only approve you for, he made a show of checking his watch. 2 hours. I think that's enough for a blind date. Okay, you have 1 hour and 59 minutes left. I didn't lie to Gavin, I really did have a blind date. Recent dates hadn't gone well, and my mom was going crazy. Rarely, this date was high quality, returned from overseas, worked at a big tech company, 6 foot tall, polite, spoke respectfully to women, no mansplaining. I was interested and chatted a bit more. Halfway through, my date went to the restroom. I looked down to check my phone and sensed someone sitting opposite me. I was about to speak but stopped. Sitting in front of me wasn't just anyone, it was Ryan. He was nearly 6 feet 3 inches. The sofa fit the date perfectly, but it was cramped for Ryan. His long legs had nowhere to go, so he leaned back as far as he could. Ryan toyed with the Volkswagen car key my date had left on the table, sneering, "You broke up with me just to come back and date this kind of trash?" The smile faded from my face. "Didn't you say you came to perform with the band? Why haven't you left yet?" The band's schedule changed. "You think I want to stay in this godforsaken place?" I straightened up. "I hope you can respect my date. He's a good person. Please leave immediately and don't disturb my date." Ryan's face suddenly darkened, the smile vanishing from his lips. When my date returned, he was confused by the scene. "Excuse me, you are?" Ryan didn't even look at him, his aura menacing. "I'm her boyfriend. If you know what's good for you, beat it." I quickly explained, "No, he's not." But Ryan stood up and grabbed my wrist. "What, do we have to kiss right here for you to believe it?" By the time I wrestled free from his grip, my date had already left in anger. I was furious. "Ryan, what is wrong with you? We already broke up." Ryan leaned back on the sofa, his smirk begging for a punch. "That was unilateral on your part." I didn't agree. "Dating isn't marriage, it doesn't require mutual consent. And you explicitly said you would never take back an ex." "I changed my mind," Ryan said as easily as if deciding what to eat for lunch, with zero psychological burden. "I think you're pretty good at taking care of people. Being with you was comfortable. I don't want to break up anymore. People really do laugh when they are speechless." I forced a smile. "But I'm not comfortable. I gave you my best years for nothing, what do you have to be uncomfortable about?" He raised his voice, causing others to look at us. I wanted to crawl into a hole. I leaned forward to cover his mouth. "Shut up," Ryan grabbed my hand. I watched helplessly as he revealed a malicious smile. "After leaving me, you haven't met any decent men, have you? Laura, you know it yourself. I am the best option you will ever find. And we fit well in bed. Instead of being with those losers, we might as well." His words came to an abrupt halt because a hand pulled me away. I looked up. Gavin was still wearing his black suit from the office, his brows tightly knit. "I thought you said you were on a blind date. Why is it getting physical? Is he harassing you?" I was completely stunned. My original plan was to force Gavin to be jealous. But Gavin hadn't shown up, and instead, Ryan had crashed the party. Just when I didn't know what crazy fit Ryan was throwing, Gavin actually appeared. "I'm her boyfriend. Who are you to interfere?" Ryan stood up unhappily. Two tall men stared each other down at eye level. I'm Laura's boss, Gavin said calmly. As far as I know, Laura doesn't have a boyfriend. Does she need to report to you whether she has a boyfriend? Ryan looked back at me, a half smile on his face. Oh, no wonder you broke up with me so cleanly. This is the new man you've set your sights on. Laura, does he know what a despicable person you are? Are you planning to use the same tricks on him that you used on me? Even though I was usually emotionally stable, I was furious now. Just as I was about to snap at him, Gavin spoke. So you're the dumped ex. Since Laura dumped you, it means she doesn't like you anymore. Harassing her won't work. Ryan's face turned black. Gavin looked at me. Your time off is up. The company has a meeting waiting for you. Let's go. I didn't care about anything else. I frowned and stared at Ryan. I don't know what your problem is, but Ryan, I don't owe you anything for the years we were together. It was consensual. I never forced you. I'll say it again, I hope we part on good terms. Please don't disturb me again in the future. Ryan wanted to say something, but after hearing my words, his eyes darkened, and he said nothing more. Gavin grabbed my wrist and led me out. Was that really your ex-boyfriend? Sitting in the car, Gavin rested his arms on the steering wheel, his tone heavy. I thought we were going back to the company for a meeting. Was that man your ex-boyfriend? He repeated. Yes, I rubbed my face and gave a bitter laugh. We were together for 3 years. I liked him a lot before, but he cheated time and time again. I couldn't take it anymore. Coming back to my hometown was because I broke up with him. I was hurt too deeply. Being with you these past few days, I peeked at Gavin's expression and said dejectedly, I was feeling a lot better, but I didn't expect him to come back and harass me. Gavin glanced at me. He doesn't deserve you. Don't be soft-hearted. Cheating happens once or 100 times. His unfaithfulness means he can't overcome animal instincts, he hasn't evolved properly. He has zero self-control and doesn't love you enough. You should find a responsible man. The corners of my mouth tried to lift, but I forced them down, asking sadly, but good men like that are so rare. Where am I going to find one? The tips of Gavin's ears slowly turned red. He coughed. Well, only I can deserve you. 3 days later, while I was drinking at a bar, Gavin messaged me, asking when I was coming back to work. That day, after he blurted out that borderline confession, I was genuinely stunned. I didn't expect him to be so direct. But I didn't say anything. I was serious about Gavin. After getting to know him these past few days, he truly exceeded my standards in every aspect. So we couldn't get together in a messy way. Like I did with Ryan. A messy beginning always leads to a messy ending. Conveniently, using heartbreak as an excuse, I took annual leave and went out with friends to relax. This bar was the only high-end one in the city, not too noisy, and the band was good. I was admiring the beautiful people on the dance floor and drinking with my friend until the music stopped at some point. A moment later, a guitar started playing again. I found a love for me, darling, just dive right in and follow my lead. Well, I found a girl, beautiful and sweet. Oh, I never knew you were the someone waiting for me, 'cause we were just kids when we fell in love, not knowing what it was. I will not give you up this time. A magnetic, slightly husky voice rang out. I froze mid-sip, eyes widening as I looked at the stage. Ryan, wearing a black shirt, sat on a high stool strumming a guitar. A silver chain glinted at his neck. In an instant, the noisy crowd and hazy lights vanished, and I could only see the glimmer in his eyes as he looked at me. The girls below were going wild, discussing how they'd ask for his WeChat later. Everything was just like the scene when we first met. Only this time, I wasn't walking toward him. Ryan held the guitar in one hand, walked slowly off the stage, and smiled at me. Can I add you on WeChat? The whole place erupted. I thought my heart was as calm as still water, but it actually rippled. I looked at Ryan with a complicated expression. Why bother? It wasn't that I was selling myself short. I could see Ryan liked me, but how much of that like was based on me being me? Or was it just because I took meticulous care of him and was sensible enough never to fight with him about his cheating? I felt that perhaps everything he was doing now was because, subconsciously, I had always been the weaker party. He had full control of our relationship, and now he was just unwilling to accept being dumped by his simp. The crowd slowly dispersed. Ryan waved at the stage, the music resumed, and he sat next to me, leaning against the back of the booth sofa, sighing. What you said that day. I went back and thought about it. It's true. In all the years we were together, you never wronged me. You gave so much, while I kept hurting you. I can understand why you wanted to leave. His expression was a bit stiff. It seemed there were words he really didn't want to say but had to, delivered with rough unfamiliarity. So, if I change from now on, treat you well, and stop stepping out with other women, could you? Seeming to remember his declaration about never taking an ex back, his face flushed. He looked like he was steeling himself. Could you get back together with me? I'm sorry. I was wrong before. I looked at Ryan in surprise, thinking he had been possessed. Ryan, who always looked down his nose at me, was actually apologizing and actively asking to get back together. Who gave you this idea? I knew this wasn't his style. Someone definitely coached him. Ryan pressed his lips together. My brothers. After we broke up, they all said I went too far. They said if I want to win my wife back, I can't be stubborn about saving face. At this point, his sense of shame seemed to have reached its limit. So, do you want to get back together? I have much better conditions than those blind dates of yours. After dating me, you'll find them eyesores. And that boss of yours from the other day, he looks like a boring elite who only talks about work. We've already merged our lives for 3 years. We are the most suitable match. I answered a different question. How did you get the owner to agree to this stunt? Ryan smirked. I bought his bar. Now I'm the owner. Do you like this place? I'll give it to you if you want. No thanks. I drank the last drop in my glass, picked up my bag, and stood up. Thanks for the gesture. The song was great. But as for getting back together, let's not. The air solidified. Ryan pressed his lips into a line, staring at me expressionlessly. Why? Ryan had beautiful peach blossom eyes. Even when he was unhappy, those eyes were usually spirited and watery. I rarely saw him look this cold. Because, I smiled, I never take back trash either. To get away from Ryan's harassment, I volunteered for a business trip out of town for a week. The project negotiations were mostly done. But during the dinner that night, the way a high-level executive from the other company looked at me made me uncomfortable. Laura, how old are you? The middle-aged man with a bald head and beer belly kept asking. I suppressed my annoyance. 27, no boyfriend yet? Just focusing on your career? He chuckled while inching closer to me, trying to read my palm. I brushed him off. I had encountered plenty of people like this before. They thought young girls would swallow insults for the sake of a project and used it as a chance to grope. I was annoyed, but since this was a big project, I just had to endure it. My phone rang. It was Gavin. Are you eating? He heard the noisy male voices on my end. Why is it so loud? I messaged your supervisor. If you're full, just leave. I didn't want to stay anyway, but I didn't expect this guy to be such a bad drunk. After a few bottles, he started getting messy and dragged me into conversation. It's good for a young girl to be ambitious, but sometimes just working hard is useless. There are shortcuts in this world, you know? I have a few other projects at my company. Come to my room later, let's chat. He handed me his room key card. I held my breath against the stench of alcohol and pushed the card back. Mr. Zhang, I'm just a participant in this project. You can talk to our leaders. Unexpectedly, he flew into a rage and yanked me up. A department manager? What makes you so special? A woman becoming a manager? You slept your way up anyway. You're a whore trying to act like a saint. Do you think my rank isn't high enough? You stinking bitch, looking down on me. The drunk man was terrifyingly strong. It took several male colleagues to pull him off me. My heart was pounding, my wrist hurt where he grabbed it, and I leaned against the wall, practically scared silly. I only reacted when the VP signaled me to run. I ran out the door and looked down. The call was still connected. When I put it to my ear, Gavin didn't comfort me. He only said 2 words. Wait there. The location wasn't far, but it was still over 3 hours by car. Gavin was always busy. The branch office had just gotten on track and needed him. I thought he would video call to comfort me or send someone to relieve me. I went back to the hotel to sleep but couldn't. I didn't turn on the lights, lying in the dark staring at the ceiling. Actually, it wasn't a huge deal. I was used to this kind of thing. My family couldn't support me. In college, I relied on student loans and worked part-time jobs from dawn till dusk for living expenses. Back then, when male bosses harassed me, I had to endure it. It's actually much better now. At least I can resist. Time passed slowly. Gavin didn't send any more messages. I rolled over and gave a bitter laugh. Even at a time like this, I held stupid expectations. Maybe I carried the genes of my mother, whom I despised, weakness inherited directly from her. Since I was born, I rarely saw my dad. Every human flaw seemed embodied in him. He gambled, never came home, chased women constantly, and only came back to ask for money. If my mom didn't give him money, he beat her and me. From the time I could understand things, I urged my mom to divorce him. Everyone around her urged her to divorce. But every time, she would sob and say she wanted to give me a complete family, refusing to leave him even if it killed her. At first, I didn't understand. He treated us like that. How could she think a complete family was better for me? Later I realized that she was the one unwilling to leave, using me as an excuse. Every time she caught my dad with a woman, she would scream, roll on the ground, and grab a kitchen knife or rope threatening to die with him. But the moment my dad actually tried to leave, she cowered, crying on the floor, hugging his leg, begging him not to go. Tortured endlessly, this woman had become a Stockholm Syndrome patient. She hated my dad, yet couldn't leave him. I grew up in that endless, daily tug-of-war. Since I was little, I knew men were unreliable. If I wanted anything, I had to fight for it myself. I wouldn't get back together with Ryan because I knew a leopard doesn't change its spots. Even if he sounded good now, he wouldn't truly settle down. And I would not repeat my mother's tragedy. As for Gavin, did I really like him? I didn't even know myself. Maybe I just liked his status, his upright character. He was better than Ryan, anyway. I disguised myself to approach him, to attract him, but I knew deep down this affection was fake. For a rare moment, I felt lost. Is this really what I want? The next second, the doorbell rang. I wrapped the duvet around me and opened the door. Outside, Gavin had changed into another suit, tailored and crisp, showing no sign of the exhaustion from driving hours through the night. I've already made it clear to that company that the partnership is cancelled. The man who insulted you just now has been fired. I guarantee he won't find work in the industry again. You won't see him anymore. His expression remained calm. He didn't hug me to comfort me, nor did he say any sweet words. But just by standing there, he represented reliability. Gavin checked his watch. 3 hours until sunrise. Tomorrow's activities are cancelled. You can sleep until you wake up naturally. He paused, then added, I'm staying in the room next door. If you need anything, come find me anytime. Saying that, he turned to leave, as if he had driven all this way just to say those few sentences. Yet, my heart settled in a strange, peaceful way. The moment he turned, I grabbed him, pulled his collar, and stood on my tiptoes. A cool kiss intertwined with the faint scent of mint. Amidst Gavin's stunned expression, I laughed. Gavin, let's be together. Being with Gavin felt completely different from being with Ryan. He was a straight-laced guy who wasn't good at sweet talk, but his actions showed his care everywhere. If I had a work problem, his first reaction was never to comfort me, but to provide a solution. Often, the problems I mentioned would disappear the next day. He wouldn't constantly say he missed me, but even if I took the latest flight back late at night, I would see him waiting at the airport. I experienced a grounded happiness I had never felt before. However, the happier I was, the more terrified I became. It was like walking on a cliff edge, solid rock beneath my feet, but one look back revealed an abyss. I started fearing Gavin would discover my true colors, find out that every side of me I presented to him was carefully crafted. I was afraid he wouldn't like the real me. After a few snowfalls, the temperature dropped sharply. Between overthinking and busy work, I finally fell ill. After calling in sick, I curled up at home alone. I didn't live with Gavin. I was afraid that if we were too intimate, he would discover the side of me he wasn't expecting. Burning up in a daze, I thought I heard the doorbell ring. I thought I was dreaming until it rang several more times. I struggled to open my eyes. When I swayed to the door and opened it, I found Gavin standing outside. He held a thermal lunchbox in his left hand and a bag of medicine in his right. It seemed to be snowing outside. Unmelted snowflakes still clung to his black wool coat, and his long eyelashes clumped together with moisture when he blinked. Heard you were sick. He walked to the dining table and put down the lunchbox. You can't take medicine on an empty stomach. Drink some porridge first. I didn't know what you liked, so I bought one of everything. Before I could react, he reached out to touch my forehead, then pressed his own forehead against mine, frowning slightly. He sat on the sofa and began taking out the medicines one by one. What are your symptoms? Is it a cold or the flu? Got chilled. Probably a cold. Gavin took out a box of medicine, unfolding the instruction sheet and reading it carefully. I stared at him blankly. I remembered when I first met him, he was just like this, frowning at a financial report in a meeting. Back then, I sat furthest away from him, separated by so many people. He seemed so high above, so distant. So cold. But now, the man who only looked at projects worth 8 figures or more was frowning over a tiny medicine instruction sheet. Right in front of me, alive and real. The warm orange light of the living room draped over Gavin. His coat was on the sofa, shirt sleeves rolled up to his forearms. The light softened his sharp features, making him look uniquely gentle. Suddenly, I felt my heart skip a violent beat, the echo bouncing around inside my skull. I thought, I'm done for. I walked over and leaned against Gavin. He put an arm around me and draped a blanket over my shoulders. What is it? Do you feel bad? I buried my head in his chest, my voice muffled. What do I do, Gavin? I think I like you more and more. He raised an eyebrow. You mean you didn't before? No, it's just, I couldn't describe the feeling. I had always feared emotion, feared the loss of control. I was afraid I would become like my mother. But now, the feeling didn't seem so bad. After taking the medicine, I fell into a deep sleep. No dreams all night. When I woke up, I was sweating all over, and my stuffed-up head suddenly felt light. I rolled out of bed and happily went to find Gavin, wanting to tell him I felt better. Gavin, the next second, I stood at the study door, locking eyes with an expressionless Gavin. He was holding the notebook where I recorded his data. He was already halfway through it. Gavin left. He didn't get angry, nor did he fight with me. He said nothing and didn't look at me again. I stood dumbly in the hallway. I wanted to call him, but no sound came out. The cold probably still made me feel awful, but I couldn't feel it much. I just felt empty and cold inside, as if the winter wind had blown right into my heart. 2 days later, I recovered and went back to work. I worked overtime as usual, went to the break room for coffee, but I never ran into him again. Turns out, if he wants to avoid me, I really won't see him. My WeChat, usually pinging all day, went silent. He seemed to have completely forgotten me. Sometimes I found bitter amusement in thinking, at least he didn't fire me. He really keeps public and private matters separate. Other times I couldn't help gritting my teeth. I'd rather he abused his power for revenge than ignore me like this. I didn't go find him either. I was caught red-handed, there was nothing to say. Any explanation would be pale. Given Gavin's status, the line of girls plotting to get him probably stretched around the block. I just succeeded because of timing and luck. I was no different from them. I returned to my previous routine, commuting alone. I hadn't felt anything before, but after getting used to being a duo, suddenly returning to single life made me feel unexpectedly lonely. Ryan, however, somehow found out about my breakup and started intercepting me everywhere. After being blocked by him at my door again, I couldn't help but sigh. What exactly do you want? I already said I won't get back with you. Ryan leaned against the doorframe, his silver ear cuff glinting metallic under the light. He raised an eyebrow. Since you don't have a boyfriend anymore, being single is being single. Why not try again with me? Where do I fall short compared to that guy named Gaines? Look at my face, money. I'm not lacking either. Whatever he can give you, I can give you too. Why are you hung up on him? I didn't want to talk much, answering impatiently, I just like him. What's it to you? Ryan laughed. Sometimes I hate how the world works, such a hateful smile still looked so good on his face. You like him. His voice carried cold ridicule. But does he like you? He leaned in, his eyes dark. He only liked the fake version of you. But I'm different. I like you exactly as you are now. He and you aren't even on the same path. Is a fake relationship interesting? That last sentence stabbed my heart. Yes, what was between Gavin and me was a fake relationship. But my feelings for him weren't fake. I really liked him. But Ryan was right. What use was that? Gavin wouldn't like me anymore. For a chosen one like him, being played by me was probably a stain on his history he couldn't erase. Laura, we are the perfect match. Ryan's voice was seductive, like a siren singing in the dead of night, grabbing its prey to drag underwater. I opened my mouth. Just as I was about to speak, my phone suddenly rang. I looked down. A WeChat message. From Gavin. Are you free? I'll come pick you up in a bit. Let's meet. No, I looked up and said to Ryan. What? He froze. I said I won't get back together with you. I looked him in the eyes, enunciating every word seriously. I don't like you. I wouldn't settle anymore. I hadn't seen him for a few days. Gavin hadn't changed much, no heartbreak haggardness, no anger from being deceived. The waiter took his dark gray coat. He wore a black turtleneck, looking down, fingers interlaced in front of him. I didn't know what to say, so I stayed silent too. Until Gavin spoke first. Did you use those tactics on anyone else? I thought he would ask why I lied to him first. I didn't expect this question and was slow to react. No. It was true. Even for Ryan, I had never put in that much effort to study his preferences. Gavin's expression didn't change, but his brow relaxed slightly. I wanted to say I didn't mean to trick him, but I couldn't say it. I lowered my voice. I'm sorry I lied to you. I know you have every right to be angry. If you don't want to see me anymore, I clenched my fingers. I can resign. Gavin paused. I didn't come here today to talk about that. I went back and thought about it these past few days. I really do like you. Even knowing you lied to me, I still like you. Gavin was always like this. Bad at discussing feelings, yet blunt and undisguised when he did. His love was like him, disdainful of hiding, never concealing his mood. But a relationship built on disguise won't go far. What I like is that you refuse to lose no matter the difficulty, that you have a clear plan for your life, that you know what you want and are never swayed by external things. I like that you, the one who shares my ambitions. Not the you who only likes the holy mountain, skiing in Hokkaido, or Leroy Musigny wine. I always felt that for two people to be together, shared values are more important than shared hobbies. We aren't just lovers, but partners and comrades for life. We have the same road to walk, rather than drifting apart and going separate ways. He looked up, his light amber eyes gazing at me earnestly. I like you very much. I hope that in the future, we won't pretend. I want to be with you forever. I was stunned. I wanted to say so many things, but when I opened my mouth, my mind went blank. I had never been firmly chosen before. My life experiences taught me never to hope for love. So I habitually used methods and tricks to obtain affection. I thought it was right, that there was no problem. There are so many people in the world just settling and getting by. True love only exists in novels and movies, like ghosts, everyone talks about them, but no one has seen one. Find a decent man, settle down, who cares about love? There is no love. I thought I was fine. Until someone tore off my disguise and told me he liked the real me. He said I didn't need to pretend anymore. He said he wanted to be with me forever. He was different from Ryan. Using my tactics for Ryan on him was an insult to him. In an instant, the turbulent emotions turned into a vast blankness. I could have said many things to make Gavin happy, but I only nodded dumbly. Okay. I promise. Gavin smiled. He rarely smiled. It was like deep ice breaking on a cold pond, revealing spring water beneath. Then I forgive you. I started getting along with Gavin for real. I stopped studying his preferences and gradually synced with him naturally. I stopped watching his favorite movie specifically. After dinner, Gavin and I would curl up on the sofa to watch my favorite horror movies. He acted calm on the surface, but that night he had a nightmare and woke up with a start. Then he hugged me without speaking for a long time, whispering just as I was falling asleep, "Honey, can we not watch horror movies anymore?" I stopped drinking red wine and took him to roadside stalls to drink baijiu. He wasn't much of a drinker. He choked until his face was red and coughed nonstop while I laughed at him. Even when annoyed, he was serious. Later, I discovered he secretly bought a lot of baijiu at home trying to practice his tolerance. Ryan went back. He stopped harassing me. I heard he suddenly went back to take over the family business for some reason, fighting to the death with those illegitimate siblings. In early March, Gavin proposed. He said he wanted to marry me as soon as possible. He didn't want to wait. Somehow Ryan found out about the engagement and insisted on meeting me to talk. After telling Gavin, I met Ryan halfway up a mountain. Below was the sea, waves crashing against rocks, seagulls circling in the sky. Ryan stood by the railing in a black hoodie. He handed me a beer, took a swig of his own, glanced at the 8-carat diamond ring on my hand, and spoke sourly. "You guys haven't been together that long, and you're already engaged?" I held the beer and smiled. "When you're with the right person, you don't need to wait long." He scoffed, then fell silent looking at the sea. After a while, he spoke. Laura, what about me? You played me, got bored, and tossed me aside. Now you're happily ever after. What about me? So many girls like you. What do you mean, what about you? Scared you won't find a date? I laughed and patted him. Seeing Ryan didn't smile, I pulled my hand back and said softly, Ryan, actually, you didn't really like me. If you truly liked me, you wouldn't have constantly betrayed me when we were together. You just haven't been dumped before, and you're unwilling to accept that I broke up with you first. Ryan didn't speak. He downed his drink in one go. I handed the beer back to him. I wish you happiness in the future. I mean it this time. Then I turned to leave. After I walked a distance, Ryan suddenly shouted from behind me, his voice trembling. But, Laura, I really did like you. I didn't stop. With my back to him, I waved my hand and kept walking forward. My phone pinged. A message from Gavin. I've practiced my tolerance. Tonight, the final battle at the barbecue stall downstairs. I couldn't help laughing and replied. You're on. Whoever passes out first is a loser. In the distance, the sky was high and the sea was wide. Sunlight pierced through the clouds. Spring had truly arrived.